Hello everyone, Jonathan White here. In my previous discussions, I've explored John Locke and the ways Christianity may have influenced his thought. My first video examined how the Protestant Reformation shaped his ideas, while my second focused on how his background informed his views on religious toleration. In this video, I turn to a central question. Was Locke a committed Christian whose faith drove his writings, or was he better understood as a deist whose religious background had little to maybe some influence on his thought, as many scholars suggest? For an introduction for John Locke, he was born into a world shaped by political upheaval and religious tension as the son of Puritan parents in the aftermath of the English Civil War. As a central figure of the Enlightenment, Locke developed the theory of natural rights, arguing that all people are entitled to life, liberty, and property. His ideas would travel far beyond England, profoundly shaping moderate democratic thought. Most notably, Thomas Jefferson drew heavily on Locke's thoughts and writings when drafting the Declaration of Independence. And so this is a pretty important person here in history to really kind of find out what was his driving force here. Many believe Locke was a liberal Enlightenment thinker, but I found many sources that say otherwise. John Marco, for instance, states in his writing, John Locke's theology, an ecumenical, ironic, and controversial project, moves a little in the direction that Locke did carry a theological background, as he discusses this in his writings, such as The Reasonableness of Christianity, only to, and I quote, describe and defend his version of Christianity during a very theologically and philosophically controversial time in history, not his own personal view, end quote. So Marco's pointing out that Locke wasn't simply writing down his private inner beliefs when he discussed Christianity, but knew enough that could be a reflection of his own. Another source is Victor Nuvo's John Locke, the Philosopher as Christian Virtuoso. In his book, he claims that Locke brushed shoulders with Francis Bacon, who was a committed believer, and was even mentored by Robert Boyle, who coined the term Christian virtuoso. Boyle was a serious Christian thinker who came from the Church of England tradition. Nuvo discusses that Locke came to the conclusion, quoting, "A science of nature is not attainable, but a science of morality is seeking clarity and definition in the moral teaching of Jesus Christ," end quote. So Nuvo moves the needle a little closer to Locke having a personal belief in Jesus. My strongest source indicating that Locke had a personal relationship with Christ comes from the Muse database. It is a review of Diego Lucci's John Locke's Christianity by Benjamin Hill. In it, Hill states that in Locke's writings, he famously, quoting, offered a conception of Christianity. To be a Christian is to believe that Jesus was the Messiah. John Locke even states this in his own book, The Reasonableness of Christianity, saying that for people to become Christians, they have to believe that Jesus is the Messiah. In conclusion, there is substantial evidence indicating that Locke was a devout Christian who extensively wrote on religious toleration and natural rights, with these beliefs serving as a central influence on his work. At the same time, his theological views deserve further study before drawing firm conclusions. What is clear, however, is that he was far from a mere deist, a characterization often attributed to him. Whether he should ultimately be understood as a deeply committed Christian thinker who wrote on these subjects remains an open question. Yet, from his own writings, it is evident that he affirmed Jesus as the Messiah and placed his trust in his teachings. This provides a promising foundation for further exploration of Locke's faith. Thank you, guys.